Hello there, everybody, and welcome to
God Culture.
I really miss my voice. I am joined by James Hunter to my left and Ash Millman to my right, or your left and your right. Actually, look at it because it's the opposite way around, isn't it? Lol. Anyway, Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4, The Last of the Starks. We are post-Battle of Winterfell. We've all survived. God bless us, and our reward is the last 3 episodes of Game of Thrones, starting with this one. James, did you like it?
Yeah.
Ash, did you like it?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us. That has been our review. Okay, so we start with the party.
Yes.
This is Game of Thrones, though. As you put in your review, James, parties do not historically go all that well in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Whenever people are happy,
Yes.
you should be worried.
Did you enjoy the unending sense of dread in this?
I did. I was watching everyone be happy, all these celebrations, the wine go around, and I'm thinking,
Dornish wine, no less.
something, yeah.
I'm glad they mentioned that.
Yes.
I'm glad.
Something's going to go wrong here, isn't it? And you just see it, and you see the little face of Dany, and she's like, and John's like, and you're like, oh.
I mean, don't get me wrong, as parties
Those
go...
noises, definitely.
As parties go in Game of Thrones, it's considered to be less murderous than we've seen before, but nonetheless, things did start to go a little awry. Did you start to feel the spools unfurling?
Oh, well, it was a very subtle spool unfurl. So it's just between Dany and Jon, isn't it? This whole like tension brewing up, and you're like, ooh, you can see her looking over, being like, I wish they're patting me on the back, saying I was a king for riding dragons and stuff. And it's just kind of sad. Like, I just felt bad for Dany the whole time. I was like, she's ridden these dragons. That's her thing. And Jon's come in and done it and taken it away from her.
To be fair, when he was like, who rides on the back of a dragon? A king, that's who. Would it have really been too much for Jon to go, or a queen? Guys, Dany, everyone, Dany, guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit... They're trying to set us up with this idea that there's just... It's not quite going to work between them two because he has this level of adoration in Westeros that she's never quite been able to get. Certainly in the north.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you wanted to mention a very particular shot they did in this exact scene, which got a laugh out of you.
Yeah, it was when it's on Daenerys, and then it's like this soap opera pan to Varys just sitting behind her. Like, what are they doing?
It was a very well-directed episode, but that is very Days of Our Lives. Varys over his shoulder. You couldn't see him because he was out of shot. But you know what was in shot for all of that we're going to have to talk about for a bit?
Yeah.
A literal coffee cup. We
Yes.
think a literal coffee cup.
Seems
It
that
was,
way.
definitely was.
You've just gone and done the news on this. Do you want to give us the 411?
So there was a coffee cup on the
Give us
table.
the 411. That's...
There was a coffee cup on the table. That is the 411. If you zoom in, it's got like a little circle on it. So I'm assuming it's a Starbucks cup. So Starbucks, anybody?
Very good.
Starbucks. Someone else writes my jokes. But yeah, no, that was it. Literally, Amelia Clark's obviously been supping on the caffeine and left it out on the table.
2 main questions here, James. One, is there any possibility in hell that this is merely just some sort of ye olde medieval vessel that we've misidentified as a modern day plastic coffee cup?
It's unlikely.
It's unlikely.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the wider Game of Thrones lore that suggests that sippy cups were quite big in
I
Westeros?
don't think they had sippy cups, no. It was all goblets, wasn't it? And
Do they have sippy horns? Could it have been a horn?
It's
there's
definitely
nothing
not.
horn.
The whole problem with
Horn with
horns
a
is
lid?
horn can't stand on a table; it topples over.
I'm just trying. I'm spitballing here.
The second question, obviously, is how the hell does a show with a $15 million budget allow that to happen? It's not even in one shot; it's in multiple
several
shots of that scene.
And that's been through, the director, the showrunners, the editors, the VFX people, everything.
As was pointed out in our conversation at work about it, it does look like the scene has had effects done to it. Like parts of it look darkened, which includes that cup, which means affects people who have literally been looking at that scene. How does it happen?
This is fine.
Is this the biggest dud they've made?
I think
so, yeah. I can't think of anything. I mean, there might have been something earlier on, but I can't think of anything really.
There's nothing quite as world-breaking as like a Starbucks cup on the table. It's like that Braveheart scene where you can see the van going in the background.
That is quite bad.
It's exactly the same as that, and it's bad. It's a bad thing to do. I'll forgive him because
We'll forgive him because the rest of the scene was genuinely very good. We got a nice return to so many of those great character moments we had in episode 2. Not quite as well done in this scene, but still there was a lot there. Gendry and Arya, I thought was that a bit of lip service done just to trying to say like, oh, you can all forget about that now. You can forget about them too because that's not who she is. Or do you think it was actually like really good for both their stories?
Ooh, I don't think it was lip service, but I think it's the only way a story could have gone. It would have really, really cheapened Arya as a character if they'd made her this lover person. Because it isn't her. It isn't in a sort of thing like the whole being a lady and living the life of a wife isn't Arya Stark. So I think that needed to be said so that characters didn't get like characters, fans, didn't get carried away thinking, whoa, she's going to live in a little castle with Gendry and it's going to be lovely, because that ain't happening.
Can we officially end all the discussion about Gendry having this huge role to play in the last couple of episodes, that I'm effectively writing him out of it now? There's Storm's End. Off your pop.
Yeah, I think it's basically very canny of Daenerys to do that, because he could have potentially been a threat, and she's like, hey, you're going to Storm's End, lad.
It is, but she's also made him a legitimised heir to Robert Baratheon now, so he's a proper big house again. So maybe if everybody dies, he's going to be the one on the throne going, well...
Is that a point?
Just me.
Yeah, let's go on a hunt.
The moment she legitimised him as Robert Baratheon's heir, given that Cersei is now technically still in that Baratheon lineage, did she not technically just make him the heir to the Iron Throne?
I mean,
I hadn't thought about that until you just said it.
Underneath Jon Snow, because he has the biggest claim.
Yeah, but you'd have to so let's just assume the usurping has stuck, which indeed it have for all those years, right? Technically, so it should never have been Joffrey or Tommen.
No, it would have been...
Or Cersei.
It would have been Stannis.
It would have been...
And
He's
then
dead.
Renly.
But he's dead, yes.
And Renly's dead.
Yes.
And Tommen's dead. And Joffrey's dead.
Yes.
So technically,
If
she's legitimate.
Gendry's-
Gendry's now technically the heir to the Iron Throne.
I
in
think
a,
he's
in a
one up.
sense.
In a sense.
One up from
But-
Cersei, but not from
But
anyone
it was
else.
only Dany that recognises this.
Yes.
It's all confusing.
But
I can
because-
see why we got rid of this for regular politics in the real world.
because Daenerys is very much... The Baratheon line doesn't count, because he's a usurper, so she wouldn't see him
Right.
as a legitimate
Yeah.
threat in that
Okay.
sense.
My
so-
head hurts. So we're going to talk about Jaime and Brienne instead to make my heart hurt.
Yay.
Was there ever any question of where this was going to go? Because I know certain members of the office who shall remain nameless were really pulling for a Tormund Brienne ship, but no, no. In fact, we've got Jaime instead. That was always had to happen, right? Given that neither of them died in the last episode, as we suspected.
I don't know, a little. As much as it warmed my heart to watch them canoodle, there was a piece of me that was like, I don't know, because their relationship was so like friendly and banterous, and I kind of will they won't they going underneath it. That it was. There was a little piece of me that was like, this didn't need to happen so like explicitly.
I actually agree with you there.
Yeah.
I thought that when he knighted her, it was kind of like, I mean, you wrote a very nice line in your ups and downs review that if this is the first time he sees it as a woman as well as a knight. But genuinely, I like the idea that they did just see each other. Everything, it was all there bubbling under the surface because of just how close they are. But the fact they just saw each other as knights first and foremost, I really liked. What about you?
I don't completely disagree with that,
But you jumped off your seat and cheered.
But absolutely, like I've been waiting for that moment since like season 3.
Really?
Yeah, I've been pulling for those two for a long time.
Did you ever think it was going to happen?
I kind of didn't. After the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I thought that's like the capper on their relationship sort of thing. But I really like the idea of, like I said in the review, seeing Brienne as a woman and showing her femininity finally. I thought that was a really nice touch to that.
Nice little insight into James Hunt's love like that. If you knight somebody, you can't sleep with them. That's good of you. That's noble, honourable. If you're a woman, would you have left his hand on?
Would I have? Oh, yeah, I've thought about this.
I know that's why I asked.
It seems she keeps her room so warm, then yes, because it wouldn't be all cold.
Would it not get? Well, that's fair, but would it not get like sweaty under the?
I don't know. It's all like a four. It's this shape the whole time. So
what?
I'm just gonna leave that hanging.
Yeah.
So
There we go.
That's absolutely horrifying. Ghost is gone now, we think. It kind of brings to a wider point. There's a lot of characters that now have nothing to do. We had no Cersei for the last 2 episodes, really, because that's not her story. And with 3 left, everything in the north, aside from the very important Sansa Arya stuff, now gets left behind. And we said goodbye to Sam. We said goodbye to Tormund. We said goodbye to Ghost in particular. Is that, if they were just going to do that, is there not an argument that they should have just died?
ooh, ow, no. That would have been cruel. Just wipe them all out.
But the emotional heft of just going, well, that was fun, guys. See you later. We've got more narrative to do. It's a bit underwhelming compared to what they could have added. Imagine watching Ghost get ripped up by.
Totally. Yeah.
Tormund going down saving somebody would have been great.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't want you to be
We're not supposed to get these little happy ever afters, are they? And technically, now they're going north of the wall with no threat of the Whites whatsoever, and all the politics happening in the south. Tormund and Ghost and everybody else, they're going to live happily ever after.
Yeah,
now.
it's very neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless something's going to happen at the end where it's like, whoa, everyone's back from the dead and they all get killed. Wah! You thought you were safe, but not. That was a horrid noise, sorry. Thought you were safe, but you're not. I don't know. No, it shouldn't be a happy ever after. But also, they're the free folk, and they've always wanted to be free and to do their own thing. So I think it is their arc to always say we're stepping away from this and stuff. So it's nice that they've been given that, because they would have never rebuilt without, as Simon said loads of times about Tormund being the head of the free folk and representing that. He can't really go because he is that guy. So to have him heading up, going right, I'm gonna go live in my igloo up north.
The igloo.
Yeah, then it's. It's the best thing for him, I think.
James, the floor is yours to talk about Ghost.
Look.
Look, right.
I'm not happy about this.
Okay.
Right, he could have given just even a little pet. Like, if you're going to get rid of Ghost,
Yeah.
you know, Jon Snow's loyal companion, the creature he's meant to have this really close bond with that would never leave his side and is always there. If you're going to just have him leave, at least just give him a pet or something,
my
man.
God, yeah.
The guy's missing an ear for you.
But there's still, it might be missing an ear, but there is still one to ruffle behind.
Exactly. You can still give him a little scratch.
Why?
Just call him a good boy.
Is this purely all come down to the fact that simply for budgetary reasons and logistics, they just haven't wanted to bother with the direwolves? They
Yeah.
don't see them as being important enough.
Yeah, well, it's because, not just budget, but the idea that they don't look good in CGI, or because, like, obviously dragons, they don't have a real-life basis to go on
Equate,
where...
yeah.
Yes, they
These
do.
are-
They were real.
Anyway, so obviously they've got to look like wolves, but just bigger.
Yeah.
And the showrunners are never happy with the way they've looked, so they've massively condensed down the importance of the direwolves to the Starks, which is very infuriating. But I guess you can kind of see. No, I can't see why they've done it. Screw them.
Well, we'll move on since we're talking about Jon to the big reveal we finally got where he tells, after Dany tells him, don't do it. Don't tell your bloody sisters they hate me.
He goes and does
tells
it.
his bloody sisters. Now, this is arguably the most important thing
Yeah.
plot-wise that has to happen in the remaining episodes. And we don't get it, do we?
We don't.
He just takes him there.
Favourite was that he let Bran do it, so it's like technically he hasn't told anyone. He's just like, oh, go on, Bran, tell him. Like, so if Dany asks, he's like, no, I didn't say. Sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't
Could
me.
imagine if the show was like the way normal people would argue. I told you, don't tell me. Oh, I was Bran. Bran actually told him. Why have they chosen to not give us this reveal? Because we know that they're told, but surely the reaction of Sansa and Arya, finding out that Jon is not in fact their brother, he is actually the heir to the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
He's actually got a stronger claim than this dragon queen that they all don't like. That's huge. for
Yeah.
all their characters.
Absolutely.
And then just cut away.
Yeah.
Why? Someone give me any answer to that question.
They couldn't act the emotions that were necessary. There was so many of them.
They needed some more shots of dragons in.
It's so weird because these episodes are 70 odd minutes long, and yet I come away from them simultaneously thinking that could have easily been half an hour shorter, but also lamenting all the things we didn't get. I don't understand why you wouldn't give us those character beats.
No, I had no idea. Like,
You're right. You're right. There's nothing more to be said because you're right.
We could do them now if you like.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to be Sansa? You can be Arya.
Okay.
Well, blah 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 blah. He's actually the heir to the Seven Kingdoms.
No.
I still support you.
That's good. I've always hated that Dany dragon lady. She's a bit
We can take this door now.
one of them. Good.
Yeah.
There you go. That was free content for you all. So after that, what's this really going to mean? Are they teasing us getting Jon versus Dany? Is that where this has to go?
Ooh, there's an argument that it definitely does but not by even Jon's want, which is never is. He's always just
When I say
along.
versus, I don't necessarily mean a pitched up battle, but I
Yeah.
mean the true conflict of the show being between them.
It's going to have to be because Varys is there, like ready and waiting, isn't he, to stir everything up? Now he's gotten wind of it, so he might have to conjure up a whole scenario.
Well, as he says, 8 people know now. It's no longer a secret. It's just information. Which I think that was my interpretation of him going, I'm just going to tell everybody about this.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to use this.
If it's got to me, it's no longer a secret, so there's no point keeping it to ourselves. How good is it to have Varys back in this capacity, though?
So good.
2 whole seasons he's been
There.
yeah.
Not even there a lot of the time. He's just...
It's understandable to an extent because people like him and, of course, Littlefinger as well, and Tyrion to a lesser extent, they are what make the political wheel be so interesting for the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
But, of course, the last 2 seasons it's kind of been more biggie, army, beaty-uppy instead. So those characters have to take a bit of a back seat. But now, not really much fighting left to do because there's hardly anybody left to do said fighting. So it's all got to be kind of come those dark rooms again, those little conversations. Will you look back on that scene with Tyrion as one of the highlights of this season?
Quite possibly, yeah, because those conversations, like you say, in seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, they were always so good, and it feels almost of a piece with those kind of scenes.
What did you take out of that scene? Where do you think they're going to go? Both in different directions? Are they going to go the same way? Because they kind of left that conversation being quite divided over whether or not Dany should be the right person for this.
Yeah, at the moment, I can't see how they reconcile things because Tyrion is clearly very loyal to Daenerys, even though she's maybe making some questionable choices, and so is he. Whereas Varys kind of looks like he's set on trying to get Jon on the Iron Throne or do something for Jon.
For the realm.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be split up, definitely. But there's no other way about it. Because unless Tyrion's just like, yeah, go on then, at the last minute, and is then another bad hand to Jon, like, it's not going to...
Tyrion officially a bad hand?
I think he's a bit of a bad hand.
Yeah, he's a bit of a bad hand.
A bit of a bad hand.
I have a question about Tyrion, which only occurred to me as I was writing down some brief notes for this.
Okay.
Why did Sansa tell Tyrion? She
Because-
swore she wouldn't tell anybody, and then really
2
soon
seasons
after, she tells Tyrion.
Because
Yeah.
she knows that he will spread it is the thing. She doesn't like Dany, does she? So
Yeah,
if
she's-
she knows telling him is the key to being like, well, whoops. Like,
So you actually that's like a cerebral, that's a political maneuver she's
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
not just because she
not just
can't keep her goddamn mouth shut.
No, I don't think it's just 'cause she wants to buff him or anything. I think it's because like she genuinely, she doesn't. But I think she's she's smart and she's political and she is this like strong-minded Northern Realms power woman. And I think her telling Tyrion, like just going to tell Tyrion, is the most underhanded, simple way she can get rid of Dany.
Is it time to recognise Sansa as a really good player of this game now, if that's the case?
Yeah,
What do you mean
totally.
time to? She's been like badass for ages. She's a fantastic character. Like she's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Sansa's awesome.
But for years and years and years, she was always like, oh God, another thing is happening to Sansa,
Yeah.
the world's unluckiest woman.
That was kind of the whole point, wasn't it? Is she was always learning and she was always developing
Yeah.
through all of that. And they kind of mentioned it in this episode a little bit clunky, but the
Yeah.
idea is not so much like you get raped, you become a good character or whatever. But
There was a weird through line in that
there was,
conversation,
and
which
it wasn't ideal. But the intent of she's no longer the little bird. She's
I agree.
like-
Yeah, I agree with what they sort of said in that. But as Simon's pointed out, like 3 blokes wrote this episode.
Yeah.
It's not really to like, oh, I heard those really awful things happen to you. Oh well, character building though, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of character building, Cersei's back.
Cersei's back.
Cersei's
They've headed
back.
down. See, they've split up. Jon and everybody's on the road. They're going to take about 2 weeks, but that leaves us with this gap in the story where Daenerys has already arrived there to King's Landing to what they thought was going to be something of an open goal, really,
Yeah.
to take the place. And it transpires that it wasn't because they've already obliterated one of their dragons.
Bad.
Now, hang on. Before we get into the ins and outs of this, are we just going to address the tiny fact of the huge, huge plot hole of how do you not see a fleet of ships from up in the sky?
But they were behind a rock.
They were
mate.
behind a rock. I will concede they were behind
Came
a rock.
creeping out.
But is that something? Because a lot of people have talked about this already. I've seen loads of this on Twitter. Like, how do you not see that? Is that just something we need to just not dwell on?
But I thought the point was that she knew that the fleet would be there, but she just thought the dragons would wipe them out. She didn't think that they had big ass scorpions that would be able to tear through dragon flesh and bone as well as they did.
But they do have the knowledge of scorpions was.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Do you say you watched the
The inside the episode. Yeah.
And they said that she'd forgotten about the Iron Fleet.
Yeah, she was like, oh, she forgets about the Iron Fleet. But in the episode, they don't
lit-
forget about the Iron
They
Fleet.
literally- the Iron Fleet will be here
But
to
then,
talk about
I
it.
suppose she doesn't expect them to be at Dragonstone because she's heading back to Dragonstone at that point. So,
Oh, I see.
Oh, they're not actually on to King's Landing at that point.
no, they're going to Dragonstone.
Oh,
that went over my head as
That
well,
went over
yeah.
my head. That makes a lot more
That's
sense.
when they arrive on the beach at the shore of.
Oh, you see, I was just
Dragonstone.
like, what a bad strategy that is. The bulk of your force is going to be there for 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
you and your dragons and you, literally
Yeah.
the most vulnerable thing in the entire army, are just going to loosely flirt with the idea of swimming around the. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense
I
now.
wondered how they got back to Dragonstone so quickly. I was like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, how did that happen?" But that makes perfect
It does
sense. Yeah.
make sense in that regard, but then there's still
Yeah.
a lot of holes in why they didn't see it, why she wasn't more careful or worried
Yeah.
about it. Who told Euron and Cersei that they
Who
were going to
told
be
you, Ron
there?
and Cersei? Was it you that originally was putting forward this idea of there being some kind of traitor in the midst?
That was Simon.
That was Simon.
But
Are you
it's-
buying it?
in a sense, it holds up because that information had to come from somewhere. And I think when Simon originally posited it, it was like, oh, is it Tyrion or Varys who are the likely suspects? But because they're both attacked, it can't be them.
Can't be Tyrion at this stage, surely.
So then I'm looking at this episode and I'm thinking, is it Sansa?
Smart.
Imagine if
She's a smart lady.
Sansa and Cersei just.
Like, is it?
I've seen those in nightclubs now. They do have those toilets where 2 girls can go in at once. What if there's like a double iron throne for them both to sit on?
They're good. They are.
I've heard they're.
Yeah.
But they must shorten the queues no end.
Yeah,
We're
it's
getting off
fine.
topic.
Yeah.
Is there any chance Sansa and Cersei could be working together?
No, I
No,
don't-
come on.
Definitely not
Come
working
on.
together. Definitely not working together. But if she's doing this whole big player move, then she could
Yeah.
be sending a little anonymous note.
To take out Daenerys, then maybe. Maybe not like a full-on team up, but
But I don't know because she's so faithful to Jon and loyal to Jon. I don't think she would.
She just told Tyrion
Yeah, no. but
after
telling
swearing
Tyrion-
on Jon.
Yeah, but telling Tyrion's different to going, "Hey, Cersei, kill everyone, kill my brother that I'm sending over to you shortly because you'll have such a higher force and Dany will still make you fight.
It is different, but it would wound me all the same if that was me. Rhaegal's death.
Bad.
Bad in what sense?
Bad too fast. Like, I don't know. It happened. I really enjoyed that it was instantaneous. Like, oh, crap. He's got a spear in his chest. That's bad. And then his throat gets ripped out. Because you're like, oh, they can take it out. They can take it out. And then he gets his throat ripped out and falls in the sea.
I had that exact same thing I was watching. I was like, oh, because I remember Drogon getting one in the wing. And that was the sort of fine. It's like, oh, they're going to wound the poor dragon that's already wounded.
Yeah.
And then straight into the sea.
But no, it was very... it was just upsetting. I just wanted them to linger on it more because then literally Dany afterwards just like, yeah, killed one of my kids. And that was it. Like, there wasn't more, like, sadness around it. Whereas Viserion was such like a, oh my God. I know he got brought back as, like, devil dragon as well. But him, like, even him going underwater and everything in the first time around was stressful. Like, it was well played out. Whereas this one, he just went plonk and then they carried on running away.
Now, we're going to talk about Emilia Clarke a bit more at the end, but this is one of the first times where I really bought a reaction from it to something terrible happening. You did sort of see, it was so quickly done and glossed over, but her, in that moment, a reaction to it did seem, I was like, oh, wow, that really hurts.
That was acting.
Why have they done that? Why have they got rid of a second dragon, seemingly out of nowhere? For shock value? Is it important for the story?
A bit of both. I've kind of, coming into the season, I expected all 3 dragons to die. I didn't know, like, when or where exactly, but I thought they'd all go because... the whole idea of defeating the White Walkers, it fits with magic kind of receding from the world, and especially the showrunners, compared to George R. R. Martin, don't really seem to like magic so much.
Yeah.
So
losers.
Exactly. So I was kind of like expecting them to get rid of them at some point, but then the death does still come out of nowhere. So it is that shock factor that we can still surprise you with death.
I think for me, I agree all the dragons have to die, but I think it's like related back to Dany's arc because who is the Dragon Queen if she got no dragons? Who is she?
Just a regular queen?
Big question. Yeah, but who wants a regular queen?
No, nobody.
They want a dragon queen or they want an undead hero of the north.
It's actually a good point, that, because if you think about it, a lot of people rallied around her because of this mythical status of being a dragon queen, and she's not really yet to show the majority of the common people in Westeros that she is this mythical figure to be eulogized and followed. And if she loses all of her dragons, then again, as you say, she's just another spoke on the wheel. She's not really offering anything different in that regard.
Yeah, she is like the Khaleesi breaker of chains and all that sort of thing. But it all ties back to the dragons and her house and everything. And without those, it's bad. Sorry, I just went through loads of noises. But yeah, it's bad because someone was talking earlier. So I think Si mentioned it earlier when it's about Dany losing everything with. Jorah's gone, 2 dragons are dead, all of her armies mostly obliterated. Jon has technically been taken from her because she's A, he's a nephew, and B, the whole king thing. So yeah, I think she's having a bad time, and this is another thing to that. I heard driving in on Drogon, in on Drogon, ready to take out this fleet, and then going back and being like, actually, no, I can't handle this because of all the scorpions and stuff. Was just another bit of her losing a bit of herself.
Less than one episode, I would have said it seemed impossible that Cersei and Euron and all of that down south could have posed a credible sort of threat to the forces in the north. But now, obviously, there's been so much decimation done. That bit with Qyburn sort of says, sorry, you think this is a foregone conclusion, don't you? You're like, your forces are actually shattered, we've got all this stuff. Are they instantaneously made a really credible threat now?
Yeah, I think that's like killing the dragon is a really good part of that because you have to balance those scales. And
hey, it's clever that. I like that.
Aye.
Don't let your own brilliant joke throw you off. Are they now nicely balanced, would you say? Or do you think...
Yeah, because you've still got one dragon, and yes, they've got scorpions, but still, a dragon can do a lot of damage. But then you look at the troops on the ground and the Golden Company far away, whatever's left of the Northern and Allied forces.
Is anyone slightly disappointed we didn't see any Golden Company this episode? Or do you think they're saving it?
Yeah, I think that's going to be next week.
The one thing I'm disappointed with still is no elephants.
No elephants,
still.
I want them to pop one out as a surprise. That's all I want.
Pop one out.
Pop one out. Pop it out of the castle.
Have you ever seen an elephant before?
Yeah, something been popped out.
Right, okay.
Perfect terminology.
No ice spiders, no elephants, no dire wolves. Why on earth did they let non-nerds make this show?
I know.
If the 3 of us had made it, it'd be nothing but those things. We got an undead bear in one episode. Why wasn't there loads of them in God damn you guys. Why didn't they let proper nerds make this show?
Yeah.
That's really annoyed me, you saying that. Or they obviously don't like magic very much. Why did they want this job?
Yeah.
I know
Why?
it's like low magic fantasy, but
Yeah.
this is the end of it where it's all supposed to be magical and stuff. And
James just like, yeah.
they don't let us see the best moments. They don't let us see the coolest things.
God damn it, guys.
I've completely turned on this show in the last 24 minutes, 50 odd seconds. This is absurd. Right. Do we think we're getting one more big battle?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But do we know we are? Because, I mean, we knew a lot about the Battle of Winterfell from set leaks and whatnot. We knew there was this, 80-day shoot and it was all, Do we know that we're getting another big one? Or do we just assume we are?
Well, it's set up. And
Yeah, but so was them, taking high guard. And it was like, how was the battle?
Miguel Sapochnik is directing it. He's the battle guy.
You told me this. He did episode 3, this one, and
He
the
didn't do
next
this one. He wanted to do this one, but couldn't fit it
because
in.
he wanted to because he thinks they're a trilogy.
Yeah, he basically says it's like a beginning, middle, and end kind
Interesting.
of one story.
How does this, for you then, how does this feel as a middle? To if the Battle of Winterfell's episode 1, this is the middle. How it's not exactly the Empire Strikes Back, was it?
I guess it's the transition because the first half of the story is dealing with the fallout from the Long Night, and then it transitions into the Last War. So I guess that's the middle aspect.
Well, yeah, it's just a transitionary period, isn't it? It's watching Dany snap. It's watching her get ready to be the Mad Queen, and it.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
It's a seamless segue there. Are they doing that on purpose? Because as I discussed with Simon, old Game of Thrones would have made us think for all the world she was becoming the Mad Queen. She was going to snap. She was going to follow in her father's footsteps, and then not subvert it, throw it on its head. Are they just now just going to make her the Mad Queen? Doesn't feel there's enough time left to do a really good bait and switch.
I really hope that she just is, though. It sounds terrible that I wanted to burn everyone alive, but I do because I think that it would be. I think that. For me, what I think her arc is going to be, because she's been fighting all these battles within herself as to whether she's going to become like her legacy, which is the Mad King who burns everyone, or she's going to be Breaker of Chains, Khaleesi, the Killer of Tyrants, all this sort of thing. So she can do them both in one fell swoop by just burning the Red Keep, getting rid of Cersei, liberating the tyrants, but then saying, wow, I'm not fit to lead, and hand it over to Jon. That might be how it plays out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand the character arc of somebody who's mad enough to burn thousands of people alive and go, actually, do you know what? In hindsight, that was probably a bit of an overstep.
Exactly.
Here's the throne, my friend.
No, but you know what I mean? I feel like she's going to have this moment where she's the whole thing for her has been power and leadership and ruling, so she's either going to have to die believing that or be broken and turn around and go, oh my God, this has been quite bad.
If they do that, if she goes the full Mad Queen where she burns Cersei out and that sort of sets her up as sort of the final villain of the arc, does that massively underserve Cersei's story? And vice versa, if in fact Cersei actually has more about her than Dany can handle, does that not massively underserve Dany's arc? Is there any way the show can actually resolve both these characters in a satisfying way? Or do you think there's just not enough time now? One of them has to be used for the other?
It's a good question, and
thanks, I'm really good at this.
I know. I say this every time I'm on. It's a good question, and I never have the answer because I don't know. There's only 2 episodes left.
What does your heart tell you, James? Is there any way they can actually give us a satisfying ending to both Cersei and Dany's stories?
Yes, there is a way. I don't know what it is.
There will be.
Don't
somehow.
ask me. I guess if next week's the battle and Dany wins the battle, but Cersei doesn't die, and then in the finale you wrap up Cersei's story by having her killed by herself or Jaime or Arya or whoever's going to do it, and then you go on to look at what comes next, and is Daenerys going to rule, and her recognising that she's not the ruler she always thought she was, and you kind of play into not the villain aspect of her arc, but the tragedy of it, of someone who spent her whole life not belonging and wanting to be home, and then
believing in this particular destiny.
Yeah, and then coming home and finding you don't fit there because the people don't like you or don't want you, and then being like, oh well, maybe I'm not the ruler I was supposed to be, and going that way, and then probably dying tomorrow.
Which probably dying.
Ash.
Oh, that was. There's all these things that could happen. I agree. I have no idea how it could be and what would be the satisfying resolution to the Dany and Cersei problem. Another thing they could do instead is not have anybody die, just have a trial by combat, because they love that. Have Clegane Bowl, and Arya stepping in and saving the Hound, and then winning.
With yet another seamless link there. Are we sort of moving towards the dynamic of Arya and the Hound versus Cersei and the Mountain? Because she's I'm not planning on coming back. I've got something to do. And I was like, me
too.
to be honest. What else is Arya going to King's Landing for, if not Cersei?
Yeah, there's no...
not.
She said it quite plainly. I'm going to kill the queen.
Is Cersei on a list?
Yeah.
Is she the last person on a list now that the Red Woman's dead?
The Mountain as well. So
She's the champion.
I would watch the hell out of that. Just those two. I don't know how you end up with a scenario where they're just all four of them are just in a room together, but I would watch that.
it's just the Harren protecting Cersei
Yeah.
and beating them both back. Yeah.
I would watch that.
It'd be good. It'd be good. Yeah, I think the only way to get that outcome is the trial by combat, though, which I don't know what option that would get us
I think
to.
we've got enough episodes left for something as
Yeah.
monumental as
Yeah,
that.
to become from a
Just
massive
to
battle.
somehow topple her, put her on trial, get the trial,
Yeah.
and then everything else. This is the thing. I started thinking about how quickly they just got rid of the Night King. And, what an underwhelming ending. We didn't get no more about him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, actually, look at your watch.
Yeah.
Like, what else? We're going to have a whole episode this week where we learn all about their history and all about their story.
Why didn't they just make it 10 episodes and have one on the backstory of the Night King rather than just, oh, he don't burn. Oh.
I don't know, Ash. Why didn't they just make it 10 episodes and have a whole one about the Night King story? Why didn't they? Yeah, no. See, are you quite high on this? Because I feel like we've been quite...
Yeah, we
negative.
have been a little bit negative, but
It is fundamentally a very good episode of television.
it's very enjoyable. There are like issues with pacing and logic, which have been kind of a problem with the show since like season 7, really. But to watch it and watch the character work and the direction, it's really in the acting. Yeah,
Overall, what do you think?
It's personally, I think it was a really good episode. I should start with that. I think it was really good, really interesting, really fun, enjoyable.
We should have front loaded with that.
Yeah.
a bit more, but yeah,
good. But it's not. I feel like Game of Thrones doesn't have the capacity to make me like cry in the same way that it used to, and like there's some moments that will shock me, but there's nothing that's like outright made me blubber like the previous episodes have. Like there's stuff in this that I feel like should have hit me a lot harder, but I would have liked more leading up to it.
Are you doing this on purpose?
What?
Like very neatly segueing into everything I'm about to talk about next. Is that the fourth thing in a row? The biggest emotional moment of the show this week was clearly Jaime and Brienne.
Yeah.
After all of that,
yeah, that got me a bit teary. I'm not going to lie.
See, I feel like I would have liked an episode of them having a happy
Oh, totally,
time in Winterfell and then him going away afterwards.
James Hassan is revealed that it just needed one little extra scene in the middle from where the happiness starts. We need to see the happiness a bit more.
Yeah, not just
bask in it.
Yeah, because it
and
wasn't.
then have it taken away.
It wasn't happiness. It was, he's going to hang around and stay, and then we're going to have a nice time in this very furry bed. But he's going to go. It wasn't. There was no moment of touching, looking into each other's eyes, nice handhold.
Every single character in this season who has done any kind of loving has had it all ripped away from them in a horrible, horrible fashion, except for
Sam.
Mad Shagger Sam.
Mad Shagger.
He loves just talking about it, doesn't he? Like,
He does. Oh my god! Actually, there's one thing I just want to bring up talking about Mad Shaggers, which is Podrick in the background.
It's that little look to that girl, isn't it?
Oh god, when he walks in with that one girl who is
She's
like,
dead
wait,
now.
and then the other
She's
girl
dead
joins
now.
them, and they have a big, obviously going off for a massive threesome. Like that was good.
She's dead now. I have no doubt whatsoever. Unless you can physically stitch yourself back up the middle.
As I hope Brienne and Podrick end up together. That's what
That would be nice. That's kind of what she deserves. Is she going to get anything happy out of this, or is that is she and Brienne? She another one being left in the north now.
I think it's just not much time, is there? Like, I think Jamie saying that. I think or hope is just to kind of protect her.
It's kind of on a knife edge, that part of the story, isn't it? Because if they can either completely undo all the good work in his redemptive arc, or they can do a really, really great story with it. I have no idea how they'll.
Yeah, I kind of have to believe that they're going to do it right because he's my favourite character.
And as we know in Game of Thrones, true love always does conquer all, and everything's always nice in the
he's
end.
just going to go kill Cersei, go back to Brienne, and live happily ever after, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably not.
No,
One last thing.
Okay.
One last thing I want to talk about. I really should talk about Bronn more, but we are out of time. Maybe me and you will just do a video on Bronn.
Okay.
Where I'll sit across you with a crossbow.
Yeah, that sounds
won't
fun.
really make a whole
Thanks.
lot of sense.
Oh, I'll just go.
You don't like Bronn as much as we like Bronn.
Yeah, that's true. It's not.
See? Emilia Clarke.
Yes.
Absolutely exceptional performance in this. If somebody who does not get
yeah.
credit, well, usually quite rightly so, doesn't get credit for her performances in this thing, she gets called, what was it you said? She doesn't emote very well.
Yeah.
She's not expressive enough. I would argue she does. She's more emoting and more expression than any other character. Probably every character in this episode combined.
Yeah, I agree. If Emilia Clarke's ever going to win an Emmy for this show, this is the episode because she is fantastic in it. Like, and I've never been the biggest fan of her on the show. I think some of the criticisms have been a little unjust because Daenerys is quite a stilted persona, and I think a lot of like the lack of expression comes from that character. But she's never been like up there with Peter Dinklage or Lena Headey.
God, yeah.
But this episode, I thought just our facial expressions were amazing.
No, I agree. Considering Emilia Clarke has like the wildest eyebrows going when she's doing normal talking and stuff, like they're great. I love them, but they're like
No, that's ruined. That's that ruined.
But she controls them so well in Game of Thrones. I've always thought that it's like that's a great acting because she's used like ooh, like. But this one, she used those eyebrows to full force. Like it was good. Like when she was like just subtle eyebrow movements and feeling. Like when you've talked about Cersei acting with her chin, Lena Headey, not Cersei. Lena Headey as Cersei. But yeah, I think this was her eyebrow moment, like where it was like you can see all of the hurt and feelings in her from just that one little wiggle. I was like,
hadn't actually thought about the brows. I just maybe I look at the whole face.
When you see her interviews though, they're like she's an emotive lady. Like,
you gonna emote then?
oh no.
I thought you were doing another bit.
No.
Right. Well, unless there's anything else anybody wants to bring up.
Poor Ghost.
Poor Ghost, I know. And on that note, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. God, R.I.P. little lad. Oh, he's not dead, or he might as well be. Thank you very much for joining us. This has, of course, been the God Culture Roundtable review. You can check out Ups and Downs. It's going to be on the main channel, and our review of the episode that is also going to be on the main channel. Plus, watch out for loads more Game of Thrones content across the rest of the week, because that's just what we do here. We do that all the time, and it's loads and loads of fun. In the meantime, though, this has been Ash. Say goodbye, Ash.
Goodbye, Ash.
James, say goodbye, James.
Goodbye.
I've been Adam, in case you forgot. This has been God Culture, and we will see you next time. Next week. There you go.
Hey.
Lock that in. Bye.